All right, let's dive straight into JB Priestley's and Inspector Calls, and we're going to be unpacking the absolutely crucial first act. If you're studying this for your GCSEs, you're in the right place. We're going to break down all the key moments, the quotes you need to remember, and the clever techniques Priestley uses so you can feel really confident for your exam.
Okay, so here's our plan. First, we'll step inside what I like to call the Burling bubble, their perfect, comfortable little world. Then, we'll see how the inspector's arrival completely shatters it. After that, we'll dig into the first two big confessions from Mr. Burling and Sheila. And finally, we'll look at how Priestley builds up to that incredible cliffhanger he leaves us on at the end of the act.
So, picture this. The year is 1912. The world is on the very edge of enormous change, but of course, our characters have no idea. We find ourselves in the dining room of the Burlings, a really wealthy manufacturing family, and they are having a fantastic time, basically congratulating themselves on how great their lives are.
Now, you've got to pay super close attention to Priestley's stage directions here. They are so important for your analysis. This setting isn't just a room, it's a symbol. All that heavily comfortable furniture and that warm, pink, and intimate lighting, it creates this cozy, self-satisfied bubble. It's almost like they're seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses, completely cut off from the harsh realities just outside their door.
And here we have it from the man himself, Arthur Burling. He's laying out his personal philosophy for his sons. This quote is the perfect piece of evidence to show his selfish, capitalist worldview. He believes in this idea of every man for himself and totally rejects the idea that we should be responsible for one another.
Oh, this is a fantastic example of Priestley's use of dramatic irony, and you'll definitely want to write about this in an exam. Remember, the play was written way later, in 1945, so the audience knows the Titanic did sink. They know World War I was just a couple of years away. So when Burling makes all these confident predictions, he just sounds arrogant and, frankly, a bit foolish. Priestley does this on purpose to make us immediately distrust him and his opinions.
And get this, at the exact moment Burling is declaring that a man has to mind his own business, a sharp ring from the doorbell cuts him right off. The timing is just perfect, isn't it? The outside world is literally about to force its way into their cozy little home.
And in walks Inspector Gould. The very first thing that changes is the light. The stage directions tell us it becomes brighter and harder. That soft pink glow is gone, and in its place is the harsh, cold light you'd expect in an interrogation room. The Burling bubble has just burst.
The inspector, well, he does not waste any time. He completely shatters their fancy celebration with this shockingly graphic news. The way he says it, burnt her inside out. It's so blunt and brutal. It creates this horrifying contrast with their fine wine and port. This is the reality they've been so comfortably ignoring.
So, how on earth does this awful tragedy connect to this comfortable family? Well, the inspector is about to reveal the very first link in what he ominously calls a chain of events.
So Burling admits it, though he certainly doesn't see it as a confession. He fired Ava Smith because she dared to ask for a pay rise, and we're talking a tiny raise, from 22.5 shillings to 25 shillings a week. He just frames it as a necessary business decision, to protect his profits.
And his denial is immediate. This quote right here perfectly sums up his entire attitude. He completely refuses to connect his own actions, firing a young woman, leaving her without a job, to any of the terrible consequences that followed. For Burling, social responsibility is just an awkward inconvenience.
Now this exchange is brilliant because it captures the central fight of the whole play. You have Burling accusing the workers of asking for the earth, basically calling them greedy. But the inspector, he just flips that right around. He suggests the real greed is with capitalists like Burling who take it by exploiting their workers. The entire argument of the play is right there in that one moment. But, Burling's actions were only the beginning of the story. The inspector now turns his attention to the younger generation, and he starts with the newly engaged Sheila. So this is our first impression of Sheila. She's giddy, she's materialistic, and her entire sense of self-worth seems to be tied to an object, that ring. She's the perfect product of the shallow, sheltered world her parents have created. This is her starting point, the person she is before the inspector arrives.
When the inspector shows Sheila a photograph of the girl, she just crumbles. She admits that, in a moment of petty jealousy and bad temper, she used her power as a rich customer to get Eva Smith fired from her second job. But unlike her father, her reaction isn't to make excuses. It's genuine horror and guilt.
And this is the moment Sheila begins to change. This line is a direct challenge to her father's whole way of thinking.
She is the very first character in the family to show any empathy, to recognize the humanity of Eva Smith. It's a fantastic quote to use to show her growing social conscience.
Okay, so now we get to the end of Act 1, and this is where Priestley just masterfully cranks up the tension before leaving us hanging with a massive cliffhanger.
The inspector carefully lays out this chain of events. First Burling, then Sheila. Each one of their selfish actions had a devastating knock-on effect for Eva. So now, totally broke and desperate, she tries to start over. She changes her name to Daisy Renton.
And that name drop is a total bombshell. Gerald's shocked reaction gives him away instantly. He obviously knows this girl, and we realize that his affair last summer, when he claimed he was busy at the works, is about to be exposed. He is the next link in the chain.
And it's Sheila, who is now easily the sharpest person in the room, who understands exactly what the inspector is doing. She realizes he's not here to fun things out. He's here to make them confess what he already knows. Her warning to Gerald just builds the sense of the inspector's almost supernatural power.
And that's where Act 1 just slams shut, with this massive question hanging in the air. We know Gerald is involved, but how? And what about Eric and Mrs. Burling? Their perfect evening is completely in ruins, and you just get the feeling the inspector is only getting started. What other secrets are going to come out in Act 2?